Financial independence, retire early in South Africa. All right, my name is Bird. Thank you for watching. I hope you're gonna hit the like and subscribe button. Do it now. Don't wait for the end of the video. Honestly, it keeps me motivated. It keeps me excited about this channel and what I'm doing. But also, it just really, really goes a long way in helping the YouTube algorithm keep me like relevant to other people that are looking for this kind of content, right? So hit the like and subscribe button. It really, really does help. So on this 19th episode of Financial Independence, Retire Early in South Africa with this guy Bird, I'm going to be talking about space, right? The space industry in general, but I'm going to be zooming it down to the space industry technologies that I'm invested in, ticker symbol SPCE. So I'm going to take it down from space as an industry all the way down to specifically Virgin Galactic, the company that I'm invested in, which kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Exposes me, gives me exposure to the space industry, right? So this is how I approach space as an industry. This helps me break it down order, and it helps me break it down specifically into the individual companies and kind of markets and competition. So I basically break it down to understand each company and basically what's its function in the entire space industry. Therefore, who are its competitors, what its margins can be, how fast it can grow, and everything. So this breaking down of the space industry just again, it helps my approach in understanding specific companies. So space is at the top, right? It's the space industry in general at the top. Space industry. I break it down into three subgroupings. Number one is deep space exploration. This is deep space exploration is going to the moon and making a base. This is going to Mars, and even setting up a base, but even going further than Mars and looking at other planets and other galaxies and so forth. That's deep space exploration, right? This is done by governments, this is done by the military, this is done by scientists. This even includes, right, something like the International Space Station, right? Because for the past 50, 60 years, this was done by governments, and really, really expensive or really, really rich companies, but mostly governments and military work. So deep space exploration, mostly government and military work, right? And then second, we have space commercialization and space tourism. This is where the real economy of space opens up to, regular people like you and me to invest in or to participate. And like I said, space tourism, to go to the moon and come back for tourism purposes, or just like Virgin Galactic, to go into the, suborbital space and then come back. So second, we have space tourism or space commercialization. And then last, we have space technologies. And this is basically any kind of technology that makes all of this possible, right? So again, space is at the top. The second level, we have deep space exploration, space commercialization and tourism, and then space technologies. And then even further, on a third level of breaking it down, we have orbital aerospace, suborbital aerospace, enabling technologies, and benefiting technologies and companies. So orbital aerospace is basically stuff that orbits, again, the International Space Station, satellites, right? So this is basically companies that make satellites, companies that make launches, launching pads or launching system, even companies that make like roving vehicles that like travel on the moon and Mars and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I include those as kind of like orbital companies, right? And then you have suborbital companies. This is drones. This is where Virgin Galactic also comes in. This is where you go up and you can kind of come back down, but you get into suborbital space. Companies and technologies that make all of that possible. And then third, you have enablers. Again, these are enabling technologies and companies that make space possible, but they may not necessarily participating in space generally. So AI makes space possible. Blockchain technology is very important for space. If you're gonna like create an economy in space. Robotics are also important just as an enabling technology. So companies like Lockheed Martin, companies like Boeing, all of these are included. Teradyne, so enabling technologies, enabling companies are, companies that make things that are kind of important for the function of space, but they themselves don't necessarily participate specifically or directly in space, right? And then you have, again, also beneficiating companies that will benefit from the advent of space. So if you can imagine something like the internet, right? 60 years ago, the internet was, I think, made so that people can communicate with each other when they're going to the moon with the Apollo 11 and other missions. But then over time, this technology was then, part of the everyday ecosystem and everyday economy that you and I use. So like you and I use the internet and GPS every day, but the internet and GPS were kind of created by the military for like stuff like space exploration. So these are the beneficiary companies and technologies, right? GPS, again, internet. Companies that do construction and agriculture. The more satellites we have in space that take good pictures, the better like agriculture and construction can happen. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a large plot of land or things like that, you can take pictures from space just to like kind of study your plots or your agriculture that much better without having to go into the field every day. Just by seeing with the pictures, you can kind of see how things are growing and things like that just by looking at them from space. So people who are in the agricultural business benefit from good satellites that are taking pictures. They benefit from good GPS tracking. People, you and I, we benefit from good GPS satellites, with our everyday functioning of our phones and things like that. So again, I'm going to take it from the top. You have space, right? As an industry, you have deep space exploration, you have space commercialization and tourism, then you have space technologies. Below that, you have orbital aerospace, suborbital aerospace, then you have enabling technologies, and then you have benefiting technologies and companies. And all of this, like I said, this approach just helps me understand the industries of space so that I can compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and I don't have to, like, it doesn't make me compare like Amazon to Virgin Galactic. You know what I'm saying? I'll focus on like comparing Amazon to Google, because Amazon and Google, I think, are competitors in space, but they're not necessarily participating in space directly, but they do have certain technologies that function, in space, because Amazon and Google are depending on like great internet function, and things like that. So yeah, just to give like a clearer list of companies that are trading, that are participating in space directly or indirectly, and you guys might want to look at them yourself. These are companies, again, Lockheed Martin, General Motors. They do have space application technologies within them. Trimble, Iridium, you know what I'm saying? Google, like I said, Amazon, Boeing, Craters. So they are companies in the aerospace and suborbital aerospace companies that are listed. These are all public companies that like participate in space in some level, And then we have like really, really big companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin, that are doing a lot of great work but aren't publicly listed. So you and I can't necessarily buy shares in them. So these like relatively no use now, but studying them. But I'm gonna say I'm really, really like my I love space, and I also love blockchain technologies, and they meet in SpaceX. You know what I'm saying? Like, because Elon Musk or SpaceX accepts Dogecoin as a form of payment, and they want to use Dogecoin as their currency in space. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I mean, obviously, like, there are no banks in space, right? There's no money in space, and we're not going to give each other notes in space. It's all going to be digital, and instead of using any country or any bank's money, we're going to use cryptocurrencies, which is blockchain, and we're going to use Dogecoin, at least as it relates to SpaceX. So all of these companies, all of these industries that I mentioned are relatively intertwined. So that's why I break it down like this, so that I can be able to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges, right? Yeah, that's just like a basic intro into understanding my approach into space and space companies or space technologies. And now we're going to talk about Virgin Galactic, ticker symbol SPCE. Right, Virgin Galactic. I love Virgin Galactic. Like I said, I'm a shareholder in Virgin Galactic. I own more than one, less than 10, around 5 shares actually. I own around 5-6 shares in Virgin Galactic, and it is my best performing company, at least as relates to like the holdings that I have right now. Virgin Galactic is my best performing company, and that's why I'm speaking about it first. But also, profits and losses are a function of when you entered the market. Like, I'm a shareholder in Tesla too, right? And I give these disclaimers, because obviously I do not give financial advice, right? I'm not a financial advisor. I do my research, and what I'm doing here is sharing my experiences and sharing my journey as I'm trying to reach financial independence and financial freedom. And part of my journey is being an investor in, companies like Virgin Galactic and Tesla. So I share these things because I'm sharing my journey, but it's up to you, again, to like do your own research, make up your own mind, and invest in companies that you want to invest in. You know what I'm saying? And the company that I want to invest in is Virgin Galactic. The company that I'm invested in is Virgin Galactic. Now, going back to my point, Virgin Galactic is my best performing stock, but again, it's a function of when I bought the share. I own a fraction of Tesla. I do not own an entire share in Tesla. I own a fraction of Tesla. But even with that fraction, I came in at about $620 a share. right? And I bought like 10% of a share at $620. And then now the share price is like $580. So obviously I'm at a loss. I came in at 620, it's now 580. I'm at a loss. But somebody that came in at $300 and it's 580, they're at a profit. It's basic, it's basic arithmetic, you know what I'm saying? So it's a function of when you came in. So I'm not a proponent of timing the market, but I do understand that making a profit or making a loss is a big function of time and when you came in. So with Virgin Galactic, I came in at an average share price of like $21, right? My average share price. I bought them over 3 months. Like I bought one share this month, I bought two shares the next month, and I bought two more shares the next month. This again, I'm averaging in, right? I believe in dollar cost averaging or rand cost averaging. So I buy the same amount of money per month in the companies that I believe in, and Virgin Galactic is one of those. So I bought Virgin Galactic at an average share price of $21, and the share price right now is about $28. So I'm at a profit, because I came in at 21 and it's now $28, and I'm at a profit. And vele tech stocks are in a downward cycle. So a lot of other tech stocks that I own are at a loss. Blockchain companies that I own are at a loss. Tesla, I'm at a loss, and other like fintech or, like I said, decentralized finance, blockchain companies that are my own, they're all at a loss. Like Virgin Galactic is actually my only company that's at a profit right now. But I don't mind. I love it. You know what I'm saying? So Virgin Galactic, it, I'm not gonna. It was Virgin was founded by Richard Branson, but basically Richard Branson bought into a company called Spaceship One. He bought the company, and then they turned it into Virgin Galactic, with the kind of ambition that they have now, which is to take people into space for a couple of minutes into suborbital space. Basically, you take a flight off of a 747. So you have a 747, right? I think two 747s, if I'm not mistaken, with a spaceship in the middle of the 747. The two 747s carry the spaceship up into air. The 747s are like airplanes, right? Boeing, I think. They fly and then they get into like maybe 30,000 feet, or the average like flight range of 747s. And then when they're in the air, they let go of the spaceship. The spaceship then shoots up into space, right? Into suborbital space. Zero gravity, really, really low gravity. And then when it's there, I don't know if they switch the engines off, but then you spend a few minutes in space, basically. You can see the curvature of the Earth. You can probably see the moon, depending on, I think, the time of the month or whatever. But you're in space for a few minutes, and then it comes back down. So that's the trip. That's the business as it is now, as it states now. They want to evolve into point-to-point travel using these fast spaceships that they use, hypersonic spaceships. But for now, their only focus or their only task now is to again go into space for a few minutes and then come back. So Virgin Galactic, that's the business model as it is now. That's how they're trying to make money, and that's the problem they're trying to solve. And they Richard Branson, I think, bought into it when the Spaceship One was created, and they tested positively. And then now they created Spaceship Two, and they're finalizing their tests to get commercialization approval from the US FAA, the Federal Aviation Authority. So once they have approval from the Federal Aviation Authority, then they can start taking space tourists or regular people. Well, regular people, if you have like 4 million rands, right? $250,000. I don't know how regular that is, but basically, I think the ticket is about that much. So you pay 4 million rands, and then you go into space for a couple of minutes, and then you come back. And that is your business now. So it has a market because at least 600 to 1,000 people have already paid a deposit to take this trip. So clearly, there are people who are interested in this trip, or people who are interested in this service. That's like proof of concept and proof of market right there, right? 600 to 1,000 people already paid a deposit, and it's not cheap. It's like 4 million rands. I don't know how much the deposit is, but I think it's non-refundable. But the fact that 600 people have committed to it, to me, just shows like proof of market, and proof of concept. So, yeah, it's a space tourism company. It falls into the space commercialization layer that I spoke about, and then it also goes into the suborbital airspace layer that I spoke about. So again, you see, this helps me like understand exactly what the company is doing, so that I compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. So Virgin Galactic is a space tourism company that does suborbital aerospace, right? Now, there are a lot of challenges in the company right now as it relates. Again, they have to get that FFA approval, in order to be a commercially viable product or service. their burn rate is also kind of minimal. I heard that they might be trying to raise money through a dilution, because obviously they have to run these tests before they can become commercially viable. They have to run these tests and get approval, and all these tests and building these spaceships and all of that takes a lot of money, a lot of research and development, and this is money that they kind of might be running out of. So I heard that they might be doing a dilution. So that's another like a red flag, if I can call it that. So number one, their burn rate is really, really low. I think they're running out of cash as they're trying to get to FFA approval. Number two is, they have to get FFA approval. And also number three, which is also like a kind of red flag, we have seen institutional outflows. We have seen Richard Branson sell some of his shares. We've seen other executives sell some of their shares. And this is typically a red flag. This is typically like, it's like, how do they not believe in their own companies? How dare they sell, companies that they co-own? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people look at this as a red flag, but in their own words, they're trying to raise money for other things because yes, some industries are seeing a downward spiral. So I know he sold parts of Virgin Airways. You know what I'm saying? Parts of Virgin Airways were being under like government thingy as when coronavirus hit, and they're trying to get bailouts. So I know that even Richard Branson, some of these other companies are suffering, and maybe with the other executives, that's what they're going through too. So they sold a lot of their shares, and that also kind of contributed to the decline in price that we've seen, Technical difficulties, they had to run a few tests to fix a few technical difficulties in the spaceships. So it also takes time and takes money, it kind of delays the time frame that they have for commercialization. So that's like relatively another red flag. Yeah, and yeah, they have no revenue technically. Right now, they're still a developing company, so they have no revenue. Even the people that paid those deposits aren't on their balance sheet yet, because they kind of can't give them the service. So I heard that those deposits don't even show on their balance sheet. So that money, yes, people have paid it, but it's like chilling somewhere in a bank, because they haven't touched it because I guess they can't provide the service, so they don't want to touch the money, I'm assuming. So these are, I'm kind of speaking about all the negative things as to why you shouldn't invest in it, but I'm invested in it. But I think it's very, very, it's very, very important for people to make informed decisions, so I'm kind of, you might like, we haven't heard any good thing you've said about Virgin Galactic, right? Because I think, it's really important to balance the positives and negatives. I can say the only positive thing about it is that I love it. Because I'm a space nerd, and for me, that's good enough to buy into it. But if you're going to buy into it too, there are other things that I think you need to know, like the kind of things that I'm mentioning, But, with all that said, like I said, it has a market. I think, it's a beautiful company. I believe in the executive, even though they've sold some of the shares. I believe in the executive, and I think for me, my target, I believe that this share is worth $50 right now. I believe that right now, with even without them taking these commercial tests, just by doing because they're gonna do a test flight with the Italian army, and other scientists, and their people are paying for that. So that's going to be revenue when they take their next tests with the Italian army and people and other scientists that are paying. So there is some revenue coming in, but as it sits right now, there technically isn't. But the Italian army is going to pay for like, I think $5 million a seat, to go into space and run some tests, while they also are running some other tests. And then they have two more tests. There's the test with the Italian army and other scientists. Then they have the other test for FFA approval. And then they can open it up for commercialization. So I think as it sits right now, this share is worth $50. You know what I'm saying? And then once they have FFA approval, it's probably worth 60, 75. And by the time they have commercialized flights, I think this share is worth $100. And if you look at the share movement, it has hit $60 before. I think it was a little bit over like priced at $60. I actually took some of my profits, because I figured like my risk was a little bit higher. But at anything less than $50, I think it's a buy. For example, I would I would say at anything less than $40, I'd buy it. Anything more than $40, I wouldn't buy, because I feel like it's worth $50. Anything above 50 is a sell. But by the time they have commercial flights, I believe that this share would be worth anything from $80 to $100. So at $28 right now, I still believe like it's a bargain. I definitely believe like it's a bargain at $28. And I believe, as this company grows and this company evolves and they get into doing point-to-point hypersonic travel. What is point-to-point hypersonic travel? This means you can do a trip from South Africa to New York, which usually takes 14 or 17 hours. You can do it in about 4, right? Or less. But imagine a 14-hour flight is cut down into 4. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think that is a great, great market. I think it will unlock billions and billions of dollars in the market, and that is another reason why I'm so invested in Virgin Galactic. But when it came in at $10, I knew that at $10 it's a steal. This thing is definitely worth $30 or $40, and I was late. I came in at 21, now it's 28. I'm still holding. At anything above 40 or 50, I might sell, and collect my profits just to get it down to like $20, $30 a share. But yeah, man, I really love Virgin Galactic. It is my best performing stock right now. If I can, I would average in because it's about $28. Like I said, at 35, 40, I stop buying. But at 20 to 25, I think it's still worth the buy. $30, I think it's still worth the buy. And it's my favorite company. I talk about it a lot in my community. Like I said, at $20, I think it's still a steal. So yeah, man, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you understand my approach to space as an industry, and also my approach to Virgin Galactic as a company, But like I said, I know I might have mentioned just the negatives only, but I still love this company. I'm still an investor in this company. And I'm I'm looking to average in and buy more shares. I'm trying to see if there's anything important that I left out. I don't think there's anything important that I left out, but now I'm just going to do like a quick rehash, right? The space industry, in my opinion, can be divided into deep space exploration, space tourism and commercialization, and space technologies. Now, these 3 subheadings can be further broken down into orbital aerospace, suborbital aerospace, beneficiating companies, and enabling companies, right? Or enabling companies and technologies, and beneficiary companies and technologies. These 3 levels of understanding space and understanding the space industry will give you a clearer understanding of how to approach any company that says it participates in space, right? Orbital airspace, stuff that orbits. These are satellites. You know what I'm saying? This is the International Space Station, for example. Suborbital, these are drones, Virgin Galactic also, Blue Origin, when it becomes live. Enablers, these are robotics, companies that do robotics, companies that do artificial intelligence, companies like Starlink that do really, really dope internet stuff. And then you have beneficiary companies. These are companies that do GPS, companies that, do internet again, companies that rely on imaging. These are companies that do mining, construction, and agriculture. So the space industry is really, really large, and it has some, I would say, downstream effects on the economy. The more things develop in space, the more things are going to develop downstream for you and I every day. Like I gave the example of how GPS and the internet were initially space and military experiments, and then over time they became commercialized for you and I. You know what I'm saying? Computers, supercomputers, things like that. All of these things that are happening in space, for me, that are really so exciting. I'm excited about these technologies because I can't wait for them to become commercialized and democratized for you and I every day. You know what I'm saying? So Virgin Galactic is my favorite space company as it is right now. It is my best performing stock as it is right now. It is still a startup in the sense that they haven't provided a product or service yet. So it's still a startup in that sense. So I believe it still has a lot of potential for growth, at least up to $50. And it's like $28 right now. So there's still a 50% or 40% opportunity for growth, and 40% is a lot. I think it's excuse me, I think it's worth buying in. But if you if you're not interested, that's cool, bro. Yeah, I did mention a lot of things that can go against Virgin Galactic, but these are, I think, short-term problems that they're working on and they will solve. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. It might be a little bit technical. It might seem like I mentioned a lot of things at the same time, but that's why you can join my community. You can send me a WhatsApp. You can hit me in the comment section, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all of that. And let's talk about these things. I love futuristic technologies. I love cryptocurrencies. I love decentralized finance. I love space. And my investment thesis is thought out around innovation and technologies of the future. Financial independence, retire early, episode 19. Thank you for watching. Bye.